Hello and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all very well. I'm Victoria from victoriamakes and I love to sew and make and DIY around the home, upcycling and using things that I've got already to make them a bit better, or if I see any bargains in the shops, buying them and maybe upcycling them somehow to fit into my home decor. So thanks for joining me, and hopefully you'll have a little look at the rest of my sewing and making videos as well as the cooking ones too. And today I'm doing a sewing video, and it's a continuation of the Bella tea dress by Liberty, and this is the pattern. It's a beautiful pattern. It's the LIB 102 by Liberty, of course, and it's a tea dress with or without pockets, a nice little collar or a tie neckline, and you need interfacing, batting, lining and a 12-inch zip and hooks and eyes and wadding or batting for it, button and eyelet trim as well for this pattern. It's an average level, so hopefully I'll be all right with that, because as I say, I've been sewing again after leaving my sewing at about the age of 20, when I used to make sort of quick clothes to go to the disco in, and I've rekindled that desire about a year ago and started to do videos on it. So yeah, so we're going to go on to the Liberty pattern. So I'll just go through this pattern a little bit with you. I'm going to do the size 12 to 14 on this pattern, and it says if you want to do the A or the B, there's not much difference. As I say, the B one's got this like little collar on it, and the A one is more of like a little tie neckline, so rounded with a little tie and pockets on the A. So I do love a pocket. I think in this case I'm going to go for the B, which has got the collar and no pockets, but you could add pockets on and adjust the pattern to suit yourself, of course. So it says here for a 12 to 14, so let's go on the average, because this pattern runs from a 6 to a 22. So for a size 14, which is bang in the middle, for example, you will need 3 1/4 yards at 45 inches wide, or a 60-inch wide fabric you want 2 3/4 yards. Slightly less for a size 12, slightly more for sizes up to size 22 inclusive. You also need some sewing interfacing, and for a 45 inch you'd need 3 1/4, and for a 60-inch you need 2 1/8. So you kind of need around about the same amount as the fabric by the looks of it. Sewing interfacing, batting, lining and the notions as I've previously said. So it's a case of making a front bodice, putting darts under the bust. Again, we've done that on a couple of others, haven't we? And then cutting out that, putting in the bust, the darts, facing, interfacing on the front facing, pinning the face into the bodice and stitching along the lines, turning the facing to the inside, pressing and then gathering up the neck edge front of the bodice between circles. That is for dress A and B, and then you need to e-stitch the lower edge around the waist, you know, the actual bodice top that will fit the waist around the bottom, the lower edge of bodice back, sew the back to the front, make the nice ties, and then make your pockets if you're doing them, and then a frilled edge if you're doing it. So we're going to go on to that, and then you sew all that together, and then you work on the neck. So we're going to sort of do that first. So I like to show you the pattern pieces, and I know some of you have said that you also like it. Forgive me if it's back to front, because this is how I set my camera up, and I do turn it backwards so I can see myself talking to you. Otherwise I just don't know what's going off if it's just shining on me and I just see the blank screen sort of thing. So this is the only way I can do it. So apologies if the writing's back to front, but you get the general picture by me showing it you. So I'll show you, as I say, each section that we do it. And of course, if you're doing the other alternative, the instructions will be slightly different, won't they? But it's generally the same on A or B. And it's a very full pattern, so make sure you always read thoroughly all the instructions first before you start, and get an idea of what's coming up and what you need, so that you don't do what like I normally do, is get halfway and realise that you didn't buy the zip or you didn't buy the batting, which, as you know, I've done that quite a few times before. Okay, so let's get cracking, shall we? I think there'll be a few challenging parts that I've not done already. So I've just started by cutting out all the pattern pieces, which has taken me quite a while, and I've had to sellotape some already because there was this piece, and I started cutting out all these little circles. And then I suddenly realised that it was number 16 and it was part of what it says padding and batting cutting out too. So I've stuck it and sellotaped it all back together again, and I'm hoping that that will suffice. It's this beautiful fabric, which isn't Liberty, but I do believe it gives those vibes. Very similar. It's by David Textiles Incorporated. That's a lovely fabric and some lovely detailing on it, little flowers. And then this is the pattern, which is the Liberty Bella Tea dress. If you have a little look, obviously Liberty fabric they've used, beautiful. And the style of the pattern and the dress is here. So lots of work. Obviously on this section here, you can see here a lot of detailing around the pockets and the front yokes, and also the neckline. But it's beautiful, so I'm going to try and work through this. I think it'll be quite challenging, and I will hopefully take you along on the journey and see how it comes and turns out. Hopefully it'll be lovely, and I hope you enjoy this video. And we're going to make the Bella tea dress today. So I've actually cut out all these patterns, and so reading the instructions now, we need to get the relevant information about how to cut the fabric out, how to fold it, etc. So first of all, we'll need the pattern layout. There's quite a lot of sheets of fabric, so I think this is going to be quite a long, lengthy make. The pattern is in French as well, so you've got 5 pages of instructions, so there's quite a lot of detail in here. So we'll get everything in order and then we'll start. So we've got 300 pages and so we're going to have a little look at everything. So it gives you all the selections. Now I like both of these. I like the collar on the B. Looking at this again, that one, you see, it's got the collar on it, a nice sort of pleated yoke, which looks really pretty, a bit like a prairie kind of dress. This one, but I also like this with all the pockets, because I do like pockets on a dress. So I'm going to make my mind up, haven't I, what to do. And also it depends on the amount of fabric as well, because it's looking like I'm going to do this on a size 14 so that I can pull it in a little bit with more darts if it is big, but I think the Liberty pattern should be really nice. And at the minute I've put a bit of weight on, so I'm going to make it on a 14, and even then when I lose my weight again and I'll be back to a size 12, it shouldn't be too big anyway. The fabrics it's saying is a crepe, rayon challis, lace, gingham and linen, unsuitable for obvious diagonals. You need sew-in interfacing, you need batting for A and B for a yard. Now I haven't got any batting, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to have to look at what batting is. I've got my interfacing, and we've had a joke about that. It's taken me ages to get interfacing, but this is batting, so I'll look at that. And then you want one 12-inch zipper or one hook and eye, 8 snaps, single fold bias tape, 3 yards of seam binding, a yard of double fold bias tape, 2.5 yards of lace or eyelet trim, 1 button. So that's your notions, and it's best to always check your notions before you start a pattern, note to self, so you've got everything. And we've already realised that I haven't really checked that properly, have I? I've just thought, well, I've got the cotton, I've got some interfacing now, and I've got some fabric. So it's caught me out again, guys, isn't it? Very unprepared, aren't I? Must do better. Anyway, so I'm going to try and get that batting for when I need it. When I next pop out, I'll have to try and get some batting. I need to find out what batting is. Sorry, you seasoned sewists out there who know batting. Hey ho. Right, so let's get on with placing the pattern and fabric onto the pattern pieces now, and I'll show you in a moment when I've got all that laid out. So I've been cutting out on the floor, and now I'm transferring the rest of the fabric that's left onto the table, because it did make my knees hurt doing one of those gardening kneading pads. Yeah, you had to just put the whole fabric out, single, facing up, right, and put all the pieces on it, either upside down or right side up and then wrong side up. So because I've chosen to do B in this dress, it doesn't take as much fabric, and so therefore we will have a little bit left, and I'm going to use these beautiful scraps to make something else with it. I think I'll do a video about using up your scraps, because if you sew them together as scraps, you can make some beautiful little items out of them. So I think we'll do a video on that another day, because I've got quite a few scraps. I did start collecting them, and then I've been using the big ones to be almost like patchwork pieces. I've not made them into anything yet, it's just they're just getting larger and larger, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them yet. There's quite a lot of different projects I want to do, including trying to make a jacket out of a quilt cover. So I'm on the hunt for a nice big quilt cover, because all the patchwork covers that we have we're using at the moment. Right, now doing the sleeves. So it's cut one right side up, and then the other one pattern piece facing down. Just trying to take it from an area where I've got a little bit of excess on this piece, because the more I have left over, the better it'll be to make some kind of project out of. If it's a larger scrap of fabric, obviously I keep my fabric scraps, but if you've got a few large pieces up, you can use scraps like that. But if you've got a nice big piece like that, you could make a very large purse or something like that out of it. So try and be mindful how you cut. Obviously keep to the recommendations, but sometimes you can manipulate it a little bit better than they suggest. See, there's quite a lot left here, probably half a metre. So one's upside down and the other piece has to be right side up. And then I think we're done, I think. Right, so next stage is to check everything now to make sure you've got the correct pieces that you require, and then you can commence. So we have got and how many you need as well. So it's no good just you go, yeah, number 15. You've got to read the piece and make sure that everything that you've cut out is the correct quantity. And I like to put them in order as well. So number 10, cut 2. Okay, 1, 2, lovely. Number 15, so on here, cut 1. We've got number 1. Number 2, cut 1 fabric interfacing, cut 1. So that needs some interfacing. I'll put that on one side. Right, that's number 11, sleeve facing, cut 2. 9, that says collar, cut 2 on fold and cut 1 on the fold of the interfacing. So we've got 2 there, but we need some interfacing again. So that's number 9. Let's leave that there. So I'm going to carry on doing this and cut the interfacing out and then get back to you shortly. Right, so what we've done here is we've based the interface into the wrong side of the front facing, and I'm going to turn in now. I'm going to iron on the long edges, turning in 1/4 inch, which is 6mm, on both long ends and the lower end, and then stitch it. Right then, so what we're going to do now is number 4, and it says pin the facing to the bodice front. So what you've done with number 2 is you've made your facing, you've backed it, haven't you, with the interlining, okay, and that is the front section. And what we're going to do is pin that to the front of the bodice. So I've ironed the centre front, so I know exactly where I am when I pull it out. I've got a nice firm crease right down the centre. Okay, so I'm going to lay that out like so, and then with this pin the facing to the bodice front, matching the stitching lines. Get the centre of this love as well, so that it's going to be bang in the middle, even, and we're going to pin it and stitch along the stitching lines. And the stitching lines for this, they're your stitching lines, and then you'll slash it. And then when you've actually cut, so pin the facing to the bodice front, matching the stitching lines, which is shown on your pattern piece, and I'm going to mark those off in the middle. And then pivoting at the small circle, which is at the top there, the small circle, which is at the very bottom, so it's right sort of near to the bottom, and then coming back on ourselves, and then slash between the stitching to the small circle, understitch facing as far as possible, and then turn the facing to the inside, press and baste the raw edges. So we'll do that now, then I will show you what it looks like. Right then, so I did it wrong before. I pinned it all and I thought that's not right. So this is your front bodice, okay? This is the right side of the front bodice, and I've got the right side of the facing attached to the right side of the bodice, okay? I've pinned it, I've pinned the V that I'm going to stitch down, and then we will slash in between that. Then hopefully that will be a hole which will then turn this and this through the middle and press it and stitch it in the back, which will give us our inverted V on the front, and the facing will be behind. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. After I've done that, I'll turn the facing and press and baste the raw edges together. Then we'll just do a little bit of the gathering of the neck edge of the bodice between the small and large circles from the pattern, and then we'll ease stitch the lower edge of the bodice back in between the seam lines, stitching the bodice front to the bodice back at the shoulders. So that could be 6, 7 and 8. Okay, so we'll do that shortly. I'll just show you that on the instructions. So that's where you'll then just do that simple gathering stitch between the circles on the back piece. This is just so we can draw it in when we need to. And then ease stitch the back at the very bottom of your back bodice. And then the last part is stitching your bodice front to the bodice back at the shoulders in double stitch seams. Press the seams towards the back so they'll be all attached then. So we're going to do that and I'll show you after. Right, so just to show you how we did it, we've actually stitched it, snipped it, and then turned it inside out, so the facing now is like that, okay, on the inside, in a nice neat gap at the front. I've actually pinned it. It says understitch it now, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go on to the back bodice. So we've done that, and we've put the front to the back, and on the left hand side just double stitched, and I'm going to clip it from the top circle to the middle, which is just literally just lower than the dart as explained in the instructions. Stitch the bodice front to the back at the right hand side in a double stitch seam, and then stitch the left side above the large circle from here to about here. Clip to the seam 1 centimetre above the large circle, stitch again 1/4 of an inch away in the seam allowance to the clip, trim close to the second stitch in, and press seams to the back. Hope that makes sense. I had to reread it quite a lot of times. So you're basically stitching the whole of that side, but you're stitching only from the top to the circle on this side, and then you need to clip it and press it back. It took me about 4 times of reading it for it to sink in. with my brain fog. Right, so view B now. So we're on to basting interfacing to the wrong side of one collar section, and then we're going to stay stitch the notch edge of the remaining collar section, and then turn in the seam allowance on the notched edge, clipping where necessary, press it, trim it, and then stitch the collar sections together, leaving the notch edge open, trim, turning it right side out, and then press it. And then we're going to start putting this onto the bodice. So I'll show you it bit by bit as I do it. So what I'm going to do is baste the interface into the wrong side of the fabric on one of the collars, press it all down, and then we'll stay stitch it on the notched edge. Okay then, so we've now got our two-sided interfaced collar all sorted, and we've just pressed it, so it's the right side out now, pressed it, and on the inside of the bodice we have to pin the interface side of collar to the bodice neck edge, matching the symbols, and stitch keeping the pressed edge free. Pin the interface. Even though we've turned it out, it's got to be that bit we're going to be pinning at the minute. So you want to face this, put it on the table, and then we're going to pin this collar around it. So it says on the inside, pin the interface side of the collar to the bodice neck edge, and that's showing the front. Right then, so we're on to the next part, which is number 33. Stitch the darts into sleeves. There's 4 darts on each sleeve top, so I've pinned them all, and I'm just going to stitch them all, and it says press towards the centre as shown. We'll do those, and then so just stitch these, and then it says when you've stitched those, e-stitch the upper edge between the notches from right round there to there, gathering it. So we'll obviously be pulling it in and pleating those sleeves in to join them into the bodice sleeve hole. So do that, and then there's a pleat on the bottom of the sleeve as well. So on the pattern piece it shows you all the dart positions, and then at the bottom there is a pleat, and that'll be like a nice little tuck that'll fall on your arm as well on the sleeve. So I'm going to do all that now, and then I'll show you when I've finished. Right, so 2 sleeves. We've got all the nice darts there, which make a nice sort of almost pinned effect, which looks lovely, and then the actual tuck at the bottom, which also helps it fall nicely as well. So I've done that on both sleeves. So what we need to do now after that is press it, and then edge it, stitching the sleeve edges together in a double-sided seam and press towards the back. So right sides together, just that little bit on the edge like so, and then on here we've got the gathering all the way around from that notch all the way around the sleeve to that notch. Loose gather stitch on both, so we'll be able to pull them in and fit them nicely into the sleeve in a moment. And then after we do that, we'll take this little short seam, the side seam, double stitch it down, and then iron it, and then stitch the sleeve facing edges together. So I'll get on with that now. So pieces 11, it says stitch the sleeve facing edges together, so stitch just both together down those side seams at the edges. Right, so just to recap what we're doing, so we've done put the sleeves in, got the collar on, and we've just got the edges of the bottom sleeves done, and then it does say to turn them under and slip stitch the edge to the seam, so I'll do that later. We've got a nice edge to it, and what I've done, it doesn't say to do it on the pattern, but I'm going to do it anyway, is I've put a nice stitch all the way around the collar to hold that down, just so that it makes it lay flat, because what annoys me with collars sometimes is if they just like stand up. This will actually make it lay flat. So we've now got our top pretty much done, apart from obviously the bottom. So we'll come back to that. So I think now it'll be the section now we're going to do is the skirt, and this is section 43 skirt. Stitch skirt front sections together at the centre front in a double stitch seam. Press the seam to one side. They are 2 pattern piece number 12. Then after that you're going to do the same with 13. Stitch your skirt back number 13 sections together at the centre back in a double stitch seam and press the seam to one side. Then stitch skirt back and skirt front together at the right side in a double stitch seam. Stitch the left side below the large circles, clip to the seam below the large circle and stitch again 1/4 inch away in the seam allowance to clip. Trim close to the second stitching and press the seams towards the back. So 2 pieces to sew together for the front, 2 pieces to sew together for the back, sewing then the back to the front on the left hand side below the large circle, clipping it away, and then sewing right at the right side all the way down. So you're leaving the section on the left side presumably for the zip again. So I'm going to get on with that now and do the skirt, and I'll show you shortly what that looks like when it's done. Right friends, so we are back with the Liberty tea dress, and we're very close to getting it completed now. So now we're going to work on the side zip. Okay, and I found a charming zip, which is a vintage one, and it is this one, but it's only a 10-inch one and it asks for a 12-inch with the pattern, but I'm going to use it anyway and just make the hole for the 10-inch zip instead. Just sew it up a little bit, fit it in. In this gives it inside, it gives you all the instructions how to fit the zip. You know, this is what they did in the olden days, isn't it? With all the wording and diagrams on. How wonderful is that? I mean, I haven't done a zip now for about 40 years, so I'm probably going to take a little bit of time on this. It's not hard, is it? I can remember how to do it, but it's just getting it so it sits neatly in the fabric. So yeah, so there's the instructions on here, but going on to the instructions of the pattern, we're on the section now where it says zipper enclosure, and it said whip stitch the upper end of the zipper taped together as shown. So that is this little bit here. So you can just put a few stitches at the top to hold it together. Now this one has got a stapling holding it together, but that should be probably alright. And then it says turn in 1/2 inch on the back side opening edge and press. Turn in the seam allowance on the front side opening edge and press. Place the closed zipper face up under the back edge and placing the zipper stop at the lower edge circle and opening edge close to the teeth using a zipper foot. Stitch close to edge. So basically you've got to turn in that seam both sides and press it, then fix one side of your zip behind, which will be my right hand side, and sew it in place, and then you go on to the left hand side and sew it in place. Lap front side opening edge over the back edge matching the seam lines. Front will lap 1/8 inch over the back. Stitch in place, pivoting 1/4 inch above and below the large circles as shown. So that should be out of sight. And then you can do the shoulder pads if necessary, but I don't want to do shoulder pads. I'm not bothered about having shoulder pads in this dress. So we'll get on with the zip. And I'm just going to work it out and then I'll show you how I'm doing it as I go along when I realise what I'm doing. So because I bought a zip that's shorter, I'm going to take that seam up 2 more inches, sew the seams together 2 more inches, okay, because what I want to do is get the zip from around the bust down to the waist. Down at the bottom is full anyway, so if I lose 2 inches there it'll be fine because it's fuller to get it over your body. What you're trying to do is open up the tightest part of the dress so you've got room on your body to get it over your head and around your bust, etc. Machine stitch that seam 2 inches up, but you won't have to do this if you're using a 12-inch zip. And then I'm going to fix that in place, turning in over 1/2 inch the seam on the back seam. And then what we'll do is we'll fit the zip under that part so that the zip is just showing there, and sew it all the way down on the outside with a zipper foot. Then we will have this one that's been overlapped, and we'll put that over so that it should cover it, and then we'll have to use the zipper foot on the other side, allowing the space of the zip, and sew down this seam here on top of this fabric so that it hopefully will cover it, and I'll show you when it's done. Right then, so it's time to get the zipper foot out and have a play with that. Right, so we're back onto the beautiful Liberty dress, and we're onto the side opening section. So it's zipper closure. Whip stitch the upper end of the zipper, tape together as shown. Turn in 1/2 inch on the back side opening edge, press it down, and turn in the seam allowance on the front side opening edge and press. So I've done that already. After that, place the closed zipper face facing up under the back edge, placing the zipper stop at the lower circle. So that is just about down here, like so. And the opening edge close to the teeth. So that's right at the top, just with the teeth, at the edge of the teeth, just behind it. Lap front the side opening edge over the back edge, matching the seam lines. The front will lap 1/8 inch over the back. Stitch in place, pivoting 1/4 inch above and below the large circle as shown. So what you're wanting by doing all that is when you actually zip the zipper up, you won't actually see it. All the side seams will come together like so, and it should be a nice closed edge. Now all I can point out with this is be very, very careful when you sew it in, so that you don't lose your seam edges on both sides and let them fray. So make sure that your seams are folded in and the edges are well away from your sewing, and when you unzip your zip, you're not catching any edges. They've been sewn away, and then inside is all nice and neat. Right, so I've just done one side of the zip, that's the underside, and I'm just going to press that now, iron it, and then I'll do the opposite side. Right then, so I've got the zip in, and you can't see the zip apart from this little catch, and pulling it right down. Like so that's that. I'm going to now put a button on the collar, or a loop or a button, so it holds it together now at the neckline. Now we're going to do the button. So it said view B, sew a button to the left front opening at the button marking. Make a thread loop at the right front opposite the button as shown, large enough for the button to pass through. So we're going to do that, and then finish off the hem, and then I will show you shortly the reveal. I hope you like it. Right, so I found a nice little pearly button, and I've made a little loop to go over at the neckline to hold it together. So I'm going to try it on now, and I'll show you what it's like. Right guys, so this is the finished dress, and it's come out I think really nice, and it goes nicely in with all the darts. And let me show you the collar. The collar's lovely. I put a little pearl button on, and it's really flat. I love the sleeves. They're like puffy, and then that bit that comes in makes it really nice. Lovely round the bust line, of course. But it's just only just tight enough, so I think the zip is slightly puckering, but obviously when I lose a couple more inches off there, I think that'll be perfect, because it just lies flat ordinarily. And then it comes in and flares out like the typical 1940s dresses do. I do like the fact about this part here. I love the dress, of course, but I think I would like to make this into a few blouses, you know, more fitted. Maybe take the zip from underneath the arm down to the waistband, so again it's nice and fitted, and have it as a 1940s style blouse using the same pattern. I think it would be quite easy. So I hope you like it. I'll just step back so you can see the length of me. Let's see, yeah, a few inches below the knees, which is fantastic, you know, because I'm tall. And that, yeah, that's from the back of it. So yeah, I hope you like it. Yes, I think it's a good representation of the Liberty pattern. I think it's come out quite good, hasn't it? Hope you like it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you like and subscribe and watch more of my videos in the future. And that's the pattern that we've made today, and I hope you agree it's turned out well, and I hope it inspires you to make the same pattern as well. And I hope to see you very soon.